Everyone. I hope you're well. I'm okay. First of all, I deeply apologize that we lost this election, but I am begging you now to vote for Kamala Harris. I mean, I realize that she was a prosecutor her whole life and put people, probably 80, 90% of the people she locked up were for victimless and consensual activity, victimless and or consensual activity. Like violating the drug prohibition or regulation laws in one way or another. Now, if people are asking for cocaine and you're giving them, cocaine laced with fentanyl or speed laced with fentanyl, that's not okay. I mean, it has to be, but if you're giving people what they ask for, then there should be no problem. Like that whole Matthew Perry thing. I mean, he asked for ketamine. He knew he wanted large amounts because I guess it has psychedelic attributes, but also, psychological attributes. He wanted to do some soul searching and was willing to accept the risks. And that's a risk we all have the right to make. Oh my God, I know so many people who say, when I tell them that the only way that they can survive, not have a disease and extend their lives by decades is by quitting sugar and processed food and chemicals and, even simple carbs and even probably all carbs. There's simple ways, and just focusing on plants and vegetables and, steamed or raw, even grilled. My point is, and maybe some oily fish, maybe just fish oil or maybe just flaxseed oil. Flax oil is high in omega-3s, and of course you want vitamin D pills, 1, 2, 3, 4, at least 2, 3, 4,000 IU units. I do, sometimes on a good day I do 5, 10, 15,000 units, but there are 5,000 unit pills now. That's a big unit, I know. Anyway, sorry. Yeah, Trump, I believe he's not only a dictator wannabe, and certainly I believe he's secretly a Nazi, yes. I don't believe he loves Jews. I don't believe that he supports Israel, even if you do believe him that he'll support all this war, which I don't think is a good idea. I don't. I think that, they should have negotiated from the beginning, and that would have increased the chances of getting every hostage back alive and soon. Versus now, over a year later, it's a nightmare. Every second is a nightmare. And of course, every second, for the people of the Gaza Strip, and even a lot of the people in West Bank are suffering greatly. And many are dying, and nobody wants any more war. I know the Jews don't. I'm sure the Muslims don't, or as they call them, Arabs, Palestinians. Do many people in Israel still want war? I don't know. I mean, I read in the newspaper in Israel, they're saying, well, we need a few more days of war. We need to, quote, clean up so that they don't have brush in the north to hide in. This is a nightmare. I mean, when I was 15, I wish I had gone with my class, but my mom wanted me and my brother to go together, and we were going away to high school, and she wanted us to stay together. She was nuts, because I wanted to go with my class, and they wouldn't allow us. So Mom said, oh, then they'll go with a different class. We went with kids we didn't know. It was really lousy. Luckily, long ago, far away. But one thing that was great was I met great people there. I did, these great Israelis. And, one night we were sleeping in the desert, in the northern desert, and all of a sudden overhead we heard, jets flying, and we knew that they were bombing, going to attack, yeah. That's what we guessed. And, I remember volunteering on a kibbutz in the north, which at the time was very poor and communist, but they had a chicken coop, and they had some orange groves, and they had a zipper factory. And then somehow years later they decided it would be brilliant to grow wine, and it was brilliant. And now they were communists but rich, but now they're evacuated. They're probably living as refugees, in apartment buildings. It's horrible. And of course, the people are getting bombed. It's horrible everywhere, including the Palestinians, recognizing that they're killing a lot of terrorists. They're also killing a lot of innocent people, as any war does, and nobody wants that. So at some point, and of course, you have the not just diminishing returns, but obviously can have the reverse effect, unintended consequence of inspiring people to kill you more. I mean, there's 8 billion Muslims in the world. There's 10 million Jews. Jews have no beef with Muslims, and Muslims have no beef with Jews, but we gotta try to... I realize this is 2 million out of 8 billion that have decided they're at war with us, but let's try to make peace with the survivors now as much as possible, and get the hostages home. They should have done day one. They should have said, look, we want to bomb you, and we will bomb you if you don't give them back within a week, whatever. Within 3 days. Within 24 hours. You can give them 24 hours. That's how you do it. Yes, I beg you to vote for Kamala. If Trump, quote, wins, and first of all, if she wins the popular vote and loses in the Electoral College, I beg her to sue and to not concede. I mean, I fought for 3 years to try to block Trump from being inaugurated, and then to throw him out for 3 years. And I mean, Professor, the Dean of Berkeley Law School, Professor ERWIN Chemerinsky, who wrote a great op-ed the other day about how now that a lot of these anti-war and pro-Palestinian protests have turned into pro-terrorists, voicing, many of them, support for terrorists and for violence. And he said, this might be legal under the First Amendment, but that doesn't mean that schools have to tolerate it or treat it any different than people, saying these things as Nazis or KKK people. So it's enough already. On the other hand, if it's just calling for peace, but calling for terrorism, no. I can't tolerate that anymore, because it makes the other students, most of the Jewish students on campus, or at least a good percentage, who support Israel, who love Israel, of course want it better and really don't want any more war, I'm sure, and most favor a two-state solution and always have. But that doesn't mean they don't love Israel, and not letting them feel endangered or anything like, really, that's important. Very. Or just ostracized. That's not right. When they support an Israel and Palestine with equal rights and human rights for all. So give them that respect. Anyway, Trump would, if he does what he says he's going to do, deporting 10, 20, 30, 40 million people who are living here. We don't know how many are living here illegally, but working hard every day. They have families, they have children, they have daughters, sons, wives, husbands, aunts, uncles. Some of them, have whole families that rely on them who would be stuck without a parent, without a source of income to help them pay for college. I mean, this is real. You have, people who are gardeners who came here 20, 30, 40 years ago who never became citizens, and After a while, they became scared to apply, and they speak Spanish mostly, but, have loving families that rely on them. Sons, daughters, about to go to college that they want to pay for, and of course they can't get scholarships, I don't think, even, so it has to come out of his pocket. And he's been earning it every day as a, gardener the hard way. I mean, this is how people in this state live. I'm just giving you a hypothetical. Well, I've met real people suffering like this. And now it would to throw them out when they're as much Americans as any of us. And certainly their wives and husbands and daughters and sons or grandchildren and even aunts and uncles and, are often legal citizens, and they're just not. They, just like tear families apart? Ripping out the heart of families, the heart of our country, heart of our communities. Are you sick? Oh, we can't have that. We can't have that. We can't have that. Besides that, it's not just that. It's the, it's the economic, it's the cruelty, it's the kicking down doors. We already have 10 million arrests in America per year, 2 million in cells, 2.2 million in cells, jail cells given at any moment. But 10 million arrests a year, most probably 9.5 million for victimless and or consensual activity. Now, to the degree that we do have violence, it's often caused by poverty and or our drug laws that both create poverty and create value to these drugs. They add great value by making things illegal or hard to get or restricted. You add great value to them by selling them for a large amount in prescription store, bottles. You add great value to what should just be, an organically raised, cared for, loved plant, of the highest quality, and, pick a price. But it doesn't have to be anywhere near what they're charging for these pharmaceuticals, even as concentrates. It can be organic. You ever thought of that? Instead of poisoning the earth, poisoning the bees, wondering why the bees are dying off, wondering why the plants are dying off, wondering why because they're not getting pollen. Why? Because you're killing off the bees. Why? Because you're giving them poisons. It doesn't take rocket science. I mean, people are scared to eat fish now because they eat microplastics. Yeah, when you slice open baby little fishies now, they have tiny little pieces of plastic in them. I mean, look, it's all I have called it there's many causes of this, economy sucking. And making it so hard to buy a house. I mean, back in the day when World War II ended, at some point soon after, I guess because with the aid of the, U.S. GI Bill, I guess they called it GIs, they gave them, aid in buying homes, I guess, unless they were black. Fucking racist. Anyway, it's horrible. It's horrible. And I do believe in a basic income for everyone. I do believe in decent housing for everyone. I do believe in, free, safe food for everyone. No subsidizing poisonous food, including pizza or beer or anything like that. Bread. No, I'm serious. Lettuce, broccoli, red peppers, green peppers, carrots, onions, garlic, cabbage, seaweed. And, I could see growing things, aquaponically with fish, and then the fish shit, and then the plants live off of the fish shit. I mean, this is a circle of life. It could really work with high rises, robots cleaning the inside of the tanks, and I don't know. It could work, hypothetically. That said, look, I have always opposed these victimless crimes, this war on drugs. I knew that, we have human rights to do our own bodies as we wish, including drugs, prostitution, gambling. In my original campaign, we had public nudity. I have now backed off on that, but I still don't like these arrests for like people saying, you can't wear a thong in public. I mean, screw that. Or, I certainly believe in freeing the nipple, as many of us do. I mean, men can walk around without t-shirts, so women should be allowed to. You do you. And no men that does not, or women that does not give you the right to harass them, sexually harass them. No, whistle, nice jugs. No. Now, sorry, I made the association with what they call the, quote, Swedish model, which is the Nordic model, which you might, and I'll bring back the old joke from one of my old campaigns, which isn't a beautiful blonde woman. No. With quote, sex work, what some people call prostitution, but I don't like that word. But I mean, with sex work, anything is, quote, prostitution. Working at McDonald's, certainly. Making poison for people and knowing it's poisonous. Kamala didn't even bring up how poisonous it is, nor did Trump, nor did Biden. He talked about how the price of Snickers is going up. Yeah, it's been going up forever. And you know what? The higher it goes, the better. Nobody should be eating a fucking Snickers. Have I ever cheated on my own rules? Yes. Did I eat a bunch of cookies yesterday? Yes, but it's deadly. Normally, 8% of the time, I'm healthy. I broke the rules. Okay. Don't shoot me. Please, don't shoot me. As far as all this war stuff, I'm very against it. Yes, I wanted them to settle at the beginning. Instead, they attacked. I get it. They were being attacked. They wanted to stop the attacks. They thought that was the only way. Well, they stopped the attacks. They're still being ambushed daily. I don't see when they expect that to end. The Israeli soldiers, I'm sure, don't want this to go on either, so it's enough already. And saying, well, with Ukraine, I was going to say they could settle, but then that would mean settling, giving up all their land, and they don't want to do that. As a friend of mine suggested, you could start attacking Russia. They could, and they should. They should first warn them. They should tell them, look, you have 10 days to evacuate all your troops. Give them 10 days. You can do that. President Biden could have, not easily, but probably prevented this war in Ukraine, because he said within a few weeks or months of him gaining power, he did win that election, of course, with the aid of money, and I believe we should be banning money from politics and banning the, benefit of fame or incumbency or party or anything like that. And we also need to go to a ranked choice voting. But certainly I do not believe that Kamala should concede. She must not concede if she wins the popular vote and loses in the Electoral College. As I said, I sued for 3 years. Professor ERWIN CHEMERINSKI, the dean of Bolt Law School, he recommended a case I could use, and I asked him for his help because I had found online that he had supported doing this. In an article I found, that saying he agreed with me that the Constitution means that we should have an equal vote. Now, also, in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights and in the International, says that we have a right to universal and equal vote. Suffrage, it says. And then also we had the ICCPR, the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, which is the political rights half of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, that's been turned into a treaty and signed by the U.S. However, with a footnote saying none of this is self-activating. It needs to be, any piece of it needs to be passed by Congress individually, which then you could say, well, then that takes away all the meaning, so that's unconstitutional to put that, to give any meaning to that footnote. And I agree. So it takes the meaning away from the whole treaty. That said, if you insist on applying that footnote, then you should give Congress, a month to enact it and say otherwise it is deemed enacted. No, you can't do that, I guess. You would just have to say, look, please do it within a month. I beg you, as standing up for this, what it means to be a citizen. And if you don't listen, yes, we'll do whatever it takes to make you uphold our human rights to an equal vote. And also, as I said in the ICCPR, it says we should all have equal chance at running for office, which means, in the end, publicly financed elections and make everybody equally famous on the government dollar. I mean, really, allowing the airwaves to be sold off to the highest bidders is just, selling off our airwaves for the idea of whoever can afford them gets the biggest say in our world. That's disgusting. That's outrageous. To me, that some people are famous because they had the support of these very conservative, lobbying groups for manufacturers and sellers and things like that, like Ronald Reagan. He was the head of the anti-communists. What was he trying to do? He was trying to help the owners of the studios. He was using the excuse of communism to help them lower the price, wages of their writers and directors and producers. They wanted all the money for themselves, so they could get the hottest women. I'm not making this up. I'm sounding like Joe Biden. Jesus. Sorry, my mouth was dry. Anyway, okay. Please go ahead and vote for Kamala right now. We only have a few hours left. But Kamala, if you lose, look up my case, or number 19274, Supreme Court number 19274. You can find the whole brief I filed. I don't know. It's not the first document. It's like the fourth or the fifth document. It's long, but it's fun. What in effect it says that in California, well, first of all, if you say you voted for Trump in California last election, your whole vote was wiped out. Same because almost in 48 of the 50 states that represent about 99%, over 99% of the population, you have winner take all in those states. Meaning, if you vote, say, for Trump in California or for Clinton in, say, I don't know, some state that has been duped into loving Trump, then your vote is wiped out. And that's outrageous. And then you have the issue like in California, because we have such a populist state, and the way the Electoral College is structured, and the way that, the Republican Party and the way that votes are stacking towards Trump and all of that, it very well, at least during the 2016 election, when Clinton won by 3 million votes, she still conceded. She should have never conceded. But, Trump won in the Electoral College, but the people who voted for him, their votes counted, on average, 50% more than those who voted for Clinton. 50% more. Now, as I said, if you lived in California and voted Trump, or in some other state and voted for Clinton, your vote was also erased. But overall, averaged out, those who voted for Trump's votes counted 50% more than for Clinton. So in other words, yes. And in some states, double or triple what they count in California. Literally, double or triple. So it's just sickening and outrageous and the opposite of democracy. And certainly, as I said, in the ICCPR, International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, it was a treaty signed by the U.S. It says, it's the only treaty on this issue. We promised to give equal and universal vote. That's part of it. And we also promised to give equal chance at public service, meaning The only way to do that is publicly finance campaigns and no other spending allowed, period. All right, love you all. Please go and vote Kamala. I mean, Trump's, besides being cruel, throwing out every immigrant would make us all poor. The fields will rot. The jobs will go undone. The prices will go through the roof. I mean, Trump, he caused this huge inflation thing by supporting the lockdowns, by supporting the social distancing, all of that bullshit, but also by, banning people from coming into our country from other overseas with the excuse of COVID when COVID was already here and circulating for months. And there was no stopping it. And it had already gotten into animal populations, and then it was going to come back to us 1,000 times, and it did. There was no stopping it. It had already been circulating in and out of China for months with millions of people. And it was too transmissible. It was too contagious. There was no stopping it. But what they should have done was pushed people to eat healthy and help them to do so if they couldn't afford to. And that would have prevented most of the deaths and most of the economic suffering, too. Yes. And most of the suffering. Not all of it. You still would have had people getting some long COVID, like me. I got my right arm hurt after second or third time I got COVID, I think. No, maybe it was after the first. I've had it 5 times now, but only tested once a few weeks ago. I knew the headache, and I wanted to test it, and I was right. Anyway. It's more like Delta, to be honest. Anyway, no, but the same headache. After I had it the first time, I had a cough for about a week or two, and I had a headache for about 10 days. Pretty strong in the back of my head, and, it's a weird disease, this COVID. I'm not saying we could have completely stopped it, but with a proper diet and exercise and, vitamins every day, yeah, we could have prevented most of the deaths and most of the economic suffering. But the answer to a question should never be we're going to shut down the world. No. Even if it's a disease with, God forbid, a much higher death rate, you can't do that because then you're making everyone poor, and in the end, the deaths you cause by the poverty and the depression and all of that is, not to mention the suffering you cause, is multiples, including suicides, God forbid. So we have to stop this. All right, I love you all, but for now, please vote Kamala. I mean, imagine the economic depression of throwing out all immigrants. Imagine the cruelty. Imagine the karma coming back to bite us in the ass. But not just that. Imagine the loss of jobs. I mean, for instance, with Trump, I don't know if you remember this. You probably don't. It's just such a tiny little thing. I know that's what they say when they see his little cock. Sorry, I know. He likes to talk about big ones. Well, all right, enough already. That said, what was I saying about after the small penis thing? God, I can't remember. Sorry, I'm a little tired. I can't remember. It had something to do with small penises. Anyway, if you think he'll do anything for anyone except for himself, you're crazy. And that's what it comes down to. He only cares about himself. You say, oh, we lived through it the last time. What are you talking about? Look, he says he's going to go after his enemies. He feels persecuted because people were going after him for breaking the law, for attempting to violently install himself in power, even though he had lost. He's never admitted that he lost by 7 million votes to Biden. Oh, yeah, so in the ICCPR, it does say we have a right, equal chance to office. That means we have a right to equal, government, equal publicity from the government. Period. But should Kamala concede? No. We have, under the 14th Amendment, a right to an equal vote. Period. You don't concede that ever. Ever. And also, I might add, under the 11th Amendment, under the 14th Amendment, under the 9th Amendment, sorry, I forgot what the 11th is. Under the 9th Amendment, under the 14th Amendment, we have a right to do our own bodies as we wish. Under the 4th Amendment. And to privacy, and to no more Big Brother, to use any drugs, sex work, like Ben Franklin talks about. After a woman he wanted to marry broke up with him, he enjoyed the company of, quote, women of ill repute, a.k.a., loving escorts, loving escorts, loving escorts. He would have never imagined that they would arrest these women or these men. No, it's enough already. Oh, that was answering your question about what is a Swedish model, Nordic model. They say, oh, we'll arrest the, quote, buyer of the sex, not the, quote, seller of the sex. Yeah, but number one, these women feel very persecuted by this law. They're still treated as criminals. And number two, leave everyone alone so that the women can earn whatever they want, however they want, like men can. This is ridiculous. What if I want to be a sex worker? I should be allowed to. I don't, but I would consider it for the right women, for the right amount of money. All right, anyway, this isn't an advertisement for that, although I'm starting an OnlyFans soon. For now, I'll be running for governor again soon. We're starting a new political party called the Love Party. You can all join, and we need people to run too. As governors, as senators, as congressmen. Up and down the line, we need people to run. DA's offices, wink, wink. We'll still lock up people who rob. Oh, yes, but, as far as this bail, locking people up just because they can't pay bail, no, there's a law against that in the Constitution. There's also a law requiring speedy trial. We can enforce that and, employ every lawyer that comes out of law school. How about that? Every lawyer that comes out of law school gets employed defending people who need it. Right to housing, right to food, right to basic income. And we'll have the government, supplying that as well as a right to a job. And how do you get people to work? You pay the jobs. Have the jobs pay, triple what the basic income does. It's simple. All right, I love you all. And then how do we get paid for that? Tax the rich. Are you rich? If you're asking, no. I would want to make it that we have no state and local taxes and only federal taxes and no, property taxes, no sales taxes, none of that. But if we can do all that, then I could see having, property taxes starting at, say, 1 million. But ideally, you want it to start at 5 or 10 million and just make it a few percentage points over that. But it would be nice if you can tax, over 1 million, sure. But you don't want people to have to then sell property. That's the only problem. So maybe make it 2 million, 3 million. You don't want them to have to sell property just because it accelerates in value quickly, God willing. We want everybody to have a small little $10,000 trailer and then buildings where we park them. Should be everyone's right. It should be. We'll keep national parks for everyone. All right, just please go and vote Kamala. I'm serious. I mean, his quote tariffs would start a trade war of unimaginable proportions, which would mean, if he does 20% on all foreign made goods, then they would tax our goods 30%. Next thing you know, U.S. goods that are made with foreign goods go up exponentially. I mean, I was trying to tell you, when Trump did his first tariffs, one thing he taxed was, foreign-made, Chinese-made frames for shipping containers, for shipping to carry containers across the country on trucks and on rail, and the frames to hold, I think, the containers on trucks. And he wanted to put such a high tariff on the Chinese-made ones that he made them, and maybe all foreign-made ones, I don't know, but I think most of the competition was from China, that he put them out of business and made it so that, to stay competitive, the U.S. companies could only buy truck frames made in the USA. The problem was they couldn't ramp it up in time, and then COVID hit. That, and then the shipping lines got backed up, and then the supply lines got backed up, and then your, manufacturing on demand got backed up and all of that, which was the secret of lowering of modern manufacturing costs. You had gas prices going up. I would have had a certain amount of free gas and free energy for everyone. Of course. Free college for everyone, free trade school for everyone who wants it, really. Free basic housing, free basic food, healthy only though. Nothing unhealthy. Nothing. A basic income, yes, maybe 1,000 or 2,000 a month, but then, what are you earning? Hopefully 5,000, 6,000 a month for everyone. You need everyone to be able to afford a family day one they're working. And even if they're not, God forbid, for whatever reason. Taking care of elderly parents, taking care of friends' parents, taking care of friends' children, taking care of your own children, your own parents. A million reasons. Like I'm helping to take care of Mom. Thank God I am. She would have been dead dozens of times, God forbid. I'm a good, free nurse. Thank God. All right, I love you all. I'll be running for governor now, and we can start by freeing those, millions of people and pardoning millions. Hopefully we can free at least, I don't know how many are in California's jails right now. I'm sure it's around 7, 8, 900,000. So we can probably free 6, 7, 800,000 people within a few months. Whether it's that they're in for victims' crimes or that they've been in jail for decades already and they're very old and infirm and it's enough already. Or they're just dying. Jail is deadly. It's torture. We got to end it for most people and make it more humane for those who stay, who are too dangerous to release. All right, I love you all. Remember, if you're ever on a jury, you have the right to vote not guilty for any reason. If you believe the law in question is immoral or its application is immoral, you can vote not guilty. Same thing for civil cases. Watch Judge Scalia and Breyer talking to the Senator Leahy and the Senate Judiciary Committee and Senator Whitehouse. This was about 10 years ago. You'll see the video. Read the transcript. You'll see. They talk about jury power, juries believing we have the right to do this, and juries being the last bulwark against tyranny. So don't forget it. But please go out and be the first bulwark against tyranny and vote against Trump. He threatens to kill us all. He threatens to arrest us all. He threatens this trade war. He said 60% on Chinese goods. He said 200, 300% on Chinese goods made in Mexico. Do you realize what the amount of inflation would be? 20, 30, 40%, then 200, 300, 400, 500, 600%. Don't kid yourselves. Be lucky to survive this. And Elon Musk even the other day admitted, there would be some pain. And then Trump said, during these deportations would be, quote, bloody. These people are sick. What do they care if there's economic pain? What do they care if there's blood being spilled as long as it's not their own? They're sick. Trump is very sick. And Kamala was sick. And Biden was too, arresting us for victimless crimes. But Trump is multiples worse. This whole war in Israel, yes, I wish they hadn't done it. I wish that they had ended it. But who will be worse, Trump or her? We don't know. Probably Trump will be 100 times worse. We don't know. We have no idea. What's in everyone's best interest? Peace now. Peace. Peace, or at least a truce, God willing, but peace and freeing the prisoners, freeing the hostages who are innocent of anything, and if they want all the guilty prisoners, take them. God forbid. They're all guilty. If many of them are guilty of murder, fine. Not fine, but free them. Protect against them later. Like you should have against Sinwar. Should have had a big wall there, as you know. All right, I've been talking for a long time. And Kamala, if you, quote, please vote for Kamala. And if Kamala, if you win the popular vote and lose the Electoral College, please fight it with every ounce of your being, every fiber in your being, and hope to free the slaves, please, too. I'm going to be 4 years away. I'm going to run in 4 years, and we will win in 4 years. But in the meantime, please, Kamala, free every slave. You just said that you believe in legalizing marijuana. I believe that you probably did all along, and you knew that what you were doing was wrong, and you still did it. Or maybe you believed in what you were doing and you changed your mind. I don't know. I find it outrageous. I knew from the time I was in high school that weed was less strong than alcohol by far. And you made weed much more punished. I knew it was outrageous and sickening. You should have known it too, especially you said you had tried it, then you knew that or should have. It's outrageous. It's outrageous. And I believe the same. Same with everything. With all these drugs they say are addictive. Only a tiny percentage of people who use any of these, quote, addictive drugs gets addicted. Maybe 5, 10%, maybe 20 at most. I doubt it. Dr. Carl Hart said 20 for some of these. I doubt it. I'm sure it's more like 2 or 3% most. All these painkillers, they're all upset about. Listen, there's 50 to 100 million people in this country. This is, government statistics. 50 to 100 million people who suffer from chronic to severe pain daily in America alone. And how many were dying at the peak of the opioid epidemic? And these were the pills, 10, 20, 30,000. Now how many do we have dying from fentanyl? Probably 50, 60, 70, 80,000. Total, all illegal drugs combined kill about 100,000 a year. You know how many sugar and chemicals kill? 1 to 2 million out of 3 million deaths a year in the U.S., including pollution, 1 or 2 million. By 2 million, including pollution. Worldwide, probably 40 out of 60 million deaths could be prevented worldwide every year, including most of the deaths by COVID and most of the sickness by COVID. Just by eating a strong anti-inflammation diet, omega-3 fatty acids, such as flaxseed powder, whatever. Multivitamin, vitamin D, vitamin K2, CoQ10, zinc, some pink salt or just salt every day, at least salt. You can do a salt fast. I did a 24-day salt fast. Some people do much longer. Months, if they have that. Just depends how much fat you have. Watch Dr. Jason Fung, F-U-N-G. He's amazing. Dr. Eric Berg talks about intermittent fasting, and keto diet. Eric Fung talks about fasting. For a lot of people, just every other day. That's what he recommends for people with serious conditions. Or doing a month or two at a time. You can do that with salt water every day, yeah. Or just alternating on and off, one day on, one day off. You can do that. That's what I think I'll do. Or 1 day on, 2 days off. Or there's the classic OMAD, 1 meal a day. That's the classic, what people love. OMAD. Okay, I love you all. L'chaim, here's some coffee. I haven't been drinking coffee in a while. They said not to have caffeine. I really wanted it. They say it's pro-inflammation. I know. They also say it prevents Parkinson's. So go figure. All right, love you all. See you soon. Please go and vote Kamala right now. Love you. Bye.